This is Barbara Ellistad, news reporter for MesquiteLocal.com, and we are with Cindi Delaney this morning, who is a candidate for City Council in the 2011 elections here in Mesquite. Cindi, could you tell us briefly why you want to be elected to the Mesquite City Council?
I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I've lived in Mesquite for a long time, and I feel like that the people have lost faith in city government. I believe that when I first moved here, people believed in city government. I don't feel that it's that way now, and I want to change that.
Okay, thank you. There are a lot of opinions about how to bring new businesses into Mesquite. What do you think the city should do to better serve the businesses that are already here?
Well, I'm glad you asked it in that way, because I think that's the first thing we need to do. We need to strengthen our current business community by finding out what they need in a non-threatening way. I'm tired of hearing arguments about the sign ordinance and all these other things. The sign ordinance needs to be rewritten. There are some things that we need to look at. Maybe we need to look at our licensing structure. In this city, I'm small potatoes because I have a really small business. But the more money I make, the more I pay in licensing fees. It makes no sense. So the big guys that we might want to attract here, why would they want to come here? Because if they're going to bring in, huge amounts of money, they're going to pay for it. Even though we're already paying, state licensing fees, state taxes, city taxes, all of those things, we need a little bit of a break as far as some of those fees go. And I think what we can do is to help these businesses be able to promote themselves without all the restrictions for wanting somebody to get a permit every time they have a sidewalk sale.
Okay. In general terms, what areas would you focus on in the upcoming city budget preparations?
I think that budgets can be very simple. I think budgets can be very complicated if you make them. I've been very poor most of my life. Raised 7 kids. While we made good money, I didn't have a lot to spend. So I'm going to simplify this to something that everybody can understand. I've been sitting here. This is the 2010-2011 budget. 119 pages. Okay? That your average person doesn't want to slog through. But let's face it, if you don't have money, if you're not, right now in this economy, anybody that doesn't have money, can't pay their light bill, can't pay for groceries, what do? You cut out the fluff. We need to go through this budget line by line and see where we can find the fluff. And it's going to take time. And of course, they haven't released all the stuff for the 2011-2012 budget yet. But I mean, revenues are down. We're going to have to look at that. But you find out. I mean, sometimes it's simple things, like some things they've already done, like going to the 4-day work week plus, the half day on Friday. You cut things like light bills and water bills and maybe it's the brand of toilet paper you use or your supplier. You'll look at those things. You take a hard look at them because for every few dollars you can save, those things add up. When people are traveling to other places, I don't have any problem with us reimbursing people to travel to D.C., Carson City, or wherever. Are they flying coach? Are we staying in reasonable places? We've got to look at all of those things. I don't begrudge anybody being reimbursed, but we've got to look at being a little bit frugal. And, I mean, that's how I ran a house whenever I had a house full of kids and managed to survive. That you look at the big picture and you say, gee, maybe we don't need this extra thing right now. And sometimes those are hard decisions.
What are your thoughts about the Lincoln County annexation on the north side of the city?
I know that it's not always popular, but I think it's going to be a great thing.
And why is that?
Because, okay, I come from Texas. Everybody's heard of Texarkana. That's half in Arkansas, half in Texas. So it's not an unheard of thing for something to cross state, county lines, whatever. So I don't think that's the big deal. But I think anytime a city starts annexing extra land, extra people. What does it bring you? It brings you more tax revenue. It can bring you more industry that will bring more tax revenue. It can help increase our city as far as what we have as a base structure. We were going to wind up having to give those, they're right there. Lincoln County doesn't have services close enough to give them fire and police protection, so we were going to do it anyway. Now we'll get tax dollars for it. Also, when you look at the whole idea that because they're in Lincoln County, there have been some suggestions that possibly some unsavory person would open a business that was not something we might want to have close to Mesquite. Okay? If they're within our municipal borders, they have to follow our laws. And so we have a little bit more control of what goes on up there.
Okay. What is your short-term and long-term vision for the city of Mesquite?
Short term, I think we need to look around and start remembering why we live in Mesquite, all of us. I think we need to reinvest in our own hometown. Long term, I think we need, and this is probably long term and short term, I think we need to embrace who we are. We need to look at the fact that we're a border town. We need to look at the fact that, yes, casinos have paid for many schools, parks. They employ people in this area. People ask, what is our identity? Let's embrace the tourism. Let's look at that part of it. Are we a golf community? Yes. Are we a retirement community? Yes. But without the services that are brought to us by many of those younger families, we're going to be nothing. And we need to look at that and embrace that. I would rather see us look at Mesquite as, if you want it, we've got it.
Well, how you mentioned you would reinvest in the city. How would you do that?
You know, do you remember a time, and this is probably not going to hold true for people that have moved here in the last few years, like 2 or 3 years. I remember a time when I first moved to Mesquite where it used to be a joke that for most of the time, you wouldn't have to go buy dinner because there was some event going on in somebody's parking lot or a grand opening. I realize it's going to take a lot to get those businesses back to that. But we used to be a real social city. And I think it gave us a togetherness. It gave us a sense of community that we don't have right at this moment. I feel like we're divided. And I want to bring that back together. Whether it's from having a fundraiser for the fire department where they're making hot dogs in the parking lot, or the Elks Club, or whoever it is, we need that sense of community back. And we've lost it somewhere along the way. And I think part of that, of course, was the economic downturn.